Welcome to the Antiquities Travel Guide. Follow us to different countries as we search for ancient artifacts. If you too wish to explore the ancient past through travel, we'll help you plan where to go, what to see, and how to best enjoy what you encounter. In this series of the ATG, you can accompany Mariza and me on our trek through England, homeland of the ancient Angles, Saxons, Romans, and Celtic Britons. Come on, let's go. Shrewsbury is a truly beautiful town, and we would have liked to stay a little longer, but after a quick breakfast, we were off again, this time towards the remains of a Roman fort in Baginton near Coventry.
We had a nice night in Shrewsbury. Today we've got another great day. We're going to be going first to the Lunt Roman Fort, and after that we'll head to the Leigh Roman Villa. Then we're going to Oxford, where we're going to go to the Ashmolean Museum, and then Mariza's friend Danny is going to treat us to dinner.
The fort sits on top of a plateau with a steep wooded slope overlooking the River Sow. It was built in the early 60s CE after the revolt of Boudica, whom we've talked about before. Now, the reason why Boudica was initially successful was because the Roman governor, Gaius Suetonius Paulinus, whom I mentioned to you in an earlier episode, he was busy invading the island of Mona, which is Anglesey today. So she's ravaging Roman lands while he's over there on the island. The invasion of the island is kind of interesting, so I want to read you a little snippet from Tacitus. Here's what he says about this.
Suetonius prepared to attack the island of Mona, which had a considerable population of its own, while serving as a haven for refugees, and in view of the shallow and variable channel, constructed a flotilla of boats with flat bottoms. By this method, the infantry crossed. The cavalry who followed did so by fording, or in deeper water by swimming, at the side of their horses.
Now notice what he says about the enemy.
On the beach stood the adverse array, a serried mass of arms and men, with women flitting between the ranks. In the style of furies, in robes of deathly black, and with disheveled hair, they brandished their torches, while a circle of druids lifting their hands to heaven and showering imprecations struck the troops with such an awe at the extraordinary spectacle that, as though their limbs were paralyzed, they exposed their bodies to wounds without an attempt at movement. Then, reassured by their general and inciting each other never to flinch before a band of females and fanatics, they charged behind the standards, cut down all who met them, and enveloped the enemy in his own flames. The next step was to install a garrison among the conquered population and to demolish the groves consecrated to their savage cults, for they considered it a duty to consult their deities by means of human entrails.
So that's Tacitus's description of Suetonius Paulinus' invasion of Mona. Anyway, so Boudica led the Iceni tribe in rebellion against Rome at the same time, and so the Romans had to come back. And after her defeat, the Romans built a series of forts across the Midlands, including this one, in case there was further trouble. We don't know the Roman name of the fort. Lunt is the name of the escarpment it sits on. This turf and timber fortification was its biggest when it was first built. Based on the number of barrack blocks, it's been estimated that approximately 480 foot soldiers and 120 cavalry soldiers resided here. 4 years after construction, it was already downsized. Presumably because it didn't see much action, it was finally dismantled around the year 79. Although it lasted barely 20 years, it was reoccupied for a brief time in the 3rd century. The fort is now partly reconstructed for visitors.
So we're here at the Lunt Roman Fort here in Baginton. Behind me is a circular cavalry training ring, which is found in no other Roman fort.
This wooden circular wall is not original, of course, but a reconstruction of the original Roman gyrus, as it was called, built in 64 CE. We surmise that the ring was created to break and train the horses that were captured from the British tribes during the revolt of Boudica. The wooden post in the middle was used for sword practice. A kid-friendly museum is on site, which not only contains archaeological finds, but a model of the fort and some of the gear worn by the Romans, which I couldn't help but try on.
Goes on just like that, and as a warning, all the weight of this is going to be on your shoulders.
Okay.
It's going to be quite heavy, quite uncomfortable. You ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. There we go. And then, but it's not bad.
Could I make a good Roman soldier?
Not bad. You're about the right height for it. It's based on a design from a version of the blade we found in Fulham on the Thames. See, the blade's slightly more curved around the edges. This one's a little bit sharp. If you're very careful with it, you can, there you go. It's not a very long sword, is it?
No, but it's enough to do the job. What we're looking at here is a replica of the eastern gate of the fort. It was called the Porta Principalis Sinistra, which means the left hand. It's on the east. On the other side would be the Porta Principalis Dextra, which would be the right hand. Usually Roman forts had 4 gateways. The other 2 would be the the Porta Praetoria and the Porta Decumana. To build this 2-story double gate, you would only need 10 men with pulleys, and the modern engineers who created it used the same techniques and methods that the ancient Romans did.
From there, we hopped in the car and drove into the countryside to find the North Leigh Roman Villa. We took a windy road to get there. You have to look sharp because the sign is small. The parking here has only 2 spots, so it's clearly not one of the more oft-visited sites. They won't let you drive all the way up to the ruins, so you have to park at the end of a long driveway and hike the rest of the way. But searching for little-known treasures is part of the fun, right? North Leigh Villa was a large country house. The family who owned it were likely important members of the local British population, who adopted the Roman lifestyle.
While not much is known about the inhabitants of this rather grand villa, it was probably occupied for about 300 years, beginning in the late 1st century and ending in the early 5th century.
We're looking now at the main living areas. This place was huge. There were as many as 3 bath suites, and the owners probably had many servants and slaves, some of whom cultivated the surrounding farmland. Life here was very comfortable for them. There's an extremely well-preserved 4th century mosaic from the floor of the dining and reception room on display here, but it's under lock and key, even during open hours, and all you can do is look through the window. We couldn't get a good view with the naked eye, but when I put my phone directly up to the window, I was able to get decent shots of it. We were getting hungry, we didn't know exactly where to eat, but we kept our eyes open, and we found a place along the road called the George and Dragon. It was a cute little place, very cozy, and the food there was very good. Thanks, George and Dragon. Not far from there, and on the way to Oxford, is the small town of Aynsham, where our Airbnb for the night was located. We thought we'd stop there to drop off our stuff before heading to the Ashmolean Museum. Our rooms were in the main house, which was old-fashioned and really cool. Then it was to the city of Oxford. Unlike Cambridge, the colleges of which are sprawled throughout the town, here in Oxford, you could say there is a true campus sector. We had hoped to go to 2 museums today, the Ashmolean and the Pitt Rivers Museum, but we only had time for one, and for me, it was an obvious choice.
So we're here at the Ashmolean Museum here in Oxford. This museum was named after Elias Ashmole and has been open for over 330 years. This museum is also widely recognized as being the first modern museum and contains a very fine collection of textiles, coins, and statues.
Their Antiquities collection has some amazing material. You can find all kinds of fantastic stuff here, from the ancient Near East, ancient Egypt and Sudan, the Minoan Aegean, Mycenaean and classical Greece, ancient Cyprus, Etruria, and the Roman world. There's also an Eastern art gallery which contains artifacts from China before 800 and India before 600. On the surface, the museum may seem on the small side, but there are a number of famous items here that can't be missed, including the mace head of the Scorpion King and the Sumerian king list. Any ancient history lover must visit. There's a large mound sitting right in the middle of Oxford, which is the remains of a motte bailey. Medieval, not ancient. But if you climb to the top, as we did, you can get a nice view of the town.
Is it?
What a fun day that was. And if that weren't enough, Mariza had a friend in Oxford who made us a delicious dinner. I couldn't have thought of a better end to the day than that. But our road trip will continue, and tomorrow's adventure may be the best one yet, as we will not only be seeing the Chedworth Roman Villa and driving into Wales to see Isca Augusta, but before the sun sets, we will be in the fabulous city of Bath, one of the top tourist destinations in Britain, and the site of one of the best preserved Roman baths in the world. If that sounds like something you want to see, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.